there, fellow creatures of the night. I'm GoreCore. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome to if you're new around here. Thank you very much for tuning in. Now, before we begin, if you have a moment, please subscribe to the channel. It helps the channel grow. And if you like this video, impale that like button. If you'd like to get our future updates, stab that notification bell down below. So today we are going to get into another movie review. A few friends and myself went to the theater last night and we checked out the movie The Substance. Now, this movie comes to us via French director Coralie Fargeat and stars Demi Moore, Margaret Qualley, and Dennis Quaid. It's based around a celebrity by the name of Elizabeth Sparkle, which is Demi Moore's character, who is facing the struggles of aging in the film industry and decides to use a black market drug called The Substance, which is a cell-replicating activator that temporarily creates a younger, better version of yourself. Now, I thought this movie was definitely a doozy, and it's going to be kind of hard to talk about it without giving any spoilers away. I'm going to do my best to avoid those as I don't want to ruin this for anyone. Obviously, if you don't want anything ruined for you, then avoid this review. Just go check out the movie and maybe check this review out after you've seen it. But really, if you've seen the trailer, I'm just going to straight up say that it really doesn't give anything away. So moving forward, I'll keep the spoilers light, but in order to talk about the story whatsoever, I probably have to give away a little bit. I really like the story for this. It definitely tackles a lot of subjects, you know, the whole struggle of aging, of course, that whole thing with vanity and beauty, and the double standard that's put on men and women, where men are allowed to age and that's fine, but women are not. So, you know, there's less value placed on them when they age and they lose their beauty. So it's definitely got a lot of good points it's making, but at the same time, this movie definitely goes in a direction that is so over the top and becomes more metaphorical that it kind of loses realism. But again, for me, watching a movie, I don't really care too much about realism. I mean, I live that every day. I want stuff that's fantastical and over the top, and I like movies that are imaginative and creative, and this movie is definitely that. So I don't think this is going to be a movie for everybody. I think horror goers will definitely like this, but I think it's going to throw some people off, especially if you're a fan of, say, Demi Moore, and you're like, oh, the new Demi Moore movie, I'm going to check this out. I don't think it's going to be what you expect. It's definitely very over the top. I know I'm giving away a few minor spoilers here, and it's very difficult not to do that and give a review of this movie, but at the same time, I won't give you any major plot points because I don't want to ruin anything for anyone. This is definitely one you need to experience on your own. So basically in this movie, we have Demi Moore's character, Elizabeth, who is an aging actor. You know, she's had a lot of success over the years. At this point, she's the star of an aerobics show, but it's coming to an end. Basically, the director or producer of this, who is played by Dennis Quaid, thinks she's too old. He wants somebody more beautiful, more young. So, of course, that's where her struggles come in hand. She overhears this conversation that she's going to be let go, and then has this struggle with her age and wanting to be relevant. So early in the film, she actually gets into a car accident, but is unscathed by the incident, and most people would be grateful for this. But she's just kind of dwelling on the fact of her aging and the fact that her career is going down the tubes. The doctor that she's dealing with, or at least one of the two doctors that are in the scene, basically gives her something that she finds in her pocket later that says, hey, if you want something that's going to change your life, call this number. And that's where the activator comes into play. So this is where we get the substance. You know, she doesn't really buy into it right in the beginning, but as she struggles more as the movie goes on, she finally caves. And of course, this is where everything goes downhill and becomes more grotesque and crazy and over the top as the movie goes. It's definitely a lot of fun and a very interesting take on, you know, the struggle of beauty and vanity and, you know, film industry, I think. I mean, Dennis Quaid's character is called Harvey, and I'm pretty sure there's parallels to, you know, Harvey Weinstein. There's definitely a mix of emotions based around this movie. I think I felt pretty much everything within this. There was moments of anxiety, there was moments of cringe, there was moments of disgust, and there was moments of sadness. So it's definitely all over the place and hits those marks well. It's very stylized, very unique. And I'm sure there's so many layers to this movie that I definitely probably missed some of them, but clearly a few of them are very obvious. I definitely enjoyed the film. At no moment was I bored, and this has a fairly long run time. I believe it runs at 2 hours and 21 minutes, if I'm correct, or at least around that range. I was very engaged with it. It definitely kept my interest, and I kept wondering what's going to happen next. So I didn't really know where the film was going, but I did have a little bit of insight into it. My whole reason for checking it out was based off of some comments made by my friends. Two of my friends who went to see it with me last night had seen it before and wanted to see it again, so that alone made me interested, especially as one of them is not one to really go to repeat movies, but they said it was a movie that they had to think about and they really enjoyed. So I like movies that make you think, and you have to question a little bit and might not register right off the bat, but as you think about it more, you either like it more or dislike it more. In this case, I definitely enjoyed it more as I thought about it and sat on it. But as the movie unfolds, I can definitely say towards the end of it, I found myself smiling and laughing. It was so absurd and over the top, and I had to wonder, what the hell am I even watching? That I absolutely love that element of it. I like anything that can take me by surprise and throw me off, and the movie definitely did that. The way this whole movie wraps up is not what I expected, but it was a lot of fun. I think for some people, it'll be the dividing factor of whether you like it or not. Personally, I definitely enjoyed it. Like I said, I think a lot of this is metaphoric, but take it for what it is. Now, as far as the actors go in this, I thought the acting was superb. Everybody in this did a fantastic job. Demi Moore, as a lot of people are saying, deserves an Oscar for this. And while maybe that might be a bit of a stretch, again, I'm no one to make those judgments. I do think she did a fantastic job. She played the part perfectly. She definitely put a lot into this role. And this movie is very sexualized. And I will admit that I'm a little bit of a prude, and I really don't like movies that are over-sexualized, but it definitely suited for this one. And she definitely bared herself a lot in this one. So, I mean, that takes a lot of guts, and it was very well done. So I definitely applaud her for that. Margaret Qualley did a fantastic job, and this is my first time seeing her in a film, at least that I'm aware of, and I thought she did a fantastic job. Acting is superb. Again, great stuff. And Dennis Quaid plays an ultimate jerk in this. Like, he's a chauvinistic asshole that you just don't like, but suits the role perfectly. And this role was originally supposed to be for Ray Liotta, but obviously with his untimely death, he couldn't do the role, and Dennis Quaid took his place, and he did a fantastic job. I thought the acting throughout this was just fantastic. Only praise to give in that regards. Now, one thing that really stood out to me in this one, which isn't something that really grabs my attention in many films, was the sound design. The sound design in this was terrific. It was all very intentional, and it worked great. It really emphasized moments of the movie. And there was even a moment towards the end of the movie where things get quite intense, and even the music was very intense. One of my friends who was with me complained about the volume of it because it was too loud for him. And of course, me being a metalhead and listening to loud music all of my life and playing instruments and stuff, I'm probably partially deaf anyways. It didn't bother me at all, but it did bring some intensity to the moment, and I very much enjoyed that. But everything is very carefully selected, the way it sounds, the way it's put to the film. It just works perfectly. I was really blown away by the sound design, and it worked great. So kudos to whoever put this together. Now let's talk about the makeup and the effects. These were incredible, very well done, just fantastic stuff. I was blown away by it, and there's definitely some parallels here to some Cronenberg material. There's definitely moments in this that felt like they could have been straight out of the movie The Fly, which seems like a weird comparison for this kind of movie. Once you see it, I think you'll understand, but it's certainly not a rip-off by any means, but it definitely has some resemblance, and I thought it was great. I very much enjoyed it. There's definitely some very over-the-top moments, and again, there's definitely some pretty grotesque body horror moments in this, so if you like, cool practical effects and just disgusting moments and, over the top, I think you'll definitely find some enjoyment from this. I'm seeing a lot of people saying that this is their favorite horror movie of the year, and I can totally understand that. Frankly, in my case, I already know Terrifier 3 is going to be my favorite, but this is definitely up there. It's definitely one of the best I've seen this year, and it's a very unique film. So yeah, the effects were done perfectly. Everything's executed great. We do have some VFX in there as well, but it all blended very nicely. Nothing stood out as being like ugly CGI, which really takes me out of movies a lot of the time. This all just blended perfectly, and it definitely suited the material. Now, as far as ratings go, and of course I'll give this a score between 0 and 10, and again, the numbers here are arbitrary. I'm just kind of giving you a number of where it kind of sits for me. Very difficult for me to judge. I did enjoy this movie very much, but at the same time, I really don't know where it sits. So I certainly don't think it's a perfect film. I think there's a lot of amazing things about it. Whether it's a film that I will go back and give a lot of repeat watches is yet to be determined. I'm not too sure. I definitely could stand to watch this one again for sure, so that says a lot in itself. I would probably give this something like a 7 or 8 out of 10. So again, this is just a personal score. It doesn't really have any relevance on, the whole take of the movie. It's just kind of where I think it sits. very hard for me to judge. I very much enjoyed it, but again, it's not the sort of movie that I think I will watch a ton, but I definitely appreciate what the director was going for and think everybody did a fantastic job with it. Again, it's one of those movies that you just really need to see for yourself. A lot of people are loving this movie. I haven't seen any negative reviews myself. I'm sure they're out there though, of course, because I do feel like this would be a very polarizing film. I think it's going to be one of those movies that either you love because, you know, the direction it went and how crazy it is and just all the layers to it, or you're probably going to hate it because of the absurdity of it. And even if you end up not being a fan of it, I definitely think it's a movie worth checking out for sure. It's definitely one of a kind. I have heard some people say that this is kind of the successor to the movie The Rejuvenator, which is an old film I've never seen, but when I looked at the plot of that one, it did sound very similar. So I'm kind of curious to go back and check that one and see if there's any parallels. I don't know if it was an influence or if it's just by chance, but I am curious. But yeah, if you've seen this movie, let me know how you feel about it. Did you enjoy it? You know, were you surprised by it? Did it go in a direction you expected? Again, I had a little bit of info going into it, but not much. So while I had certain expectations that definitely were met, there was other ones that weren't. I heard rumors of people leaving the theater vomiting and stuff, and really, I don't get that. Yes, there are some nasty and disgusting moments in this, but as a horror fan, nothing that I couldn't handle or that was, you know, bothering me whatsoever. I heard people say, don't eat while you watch this movie. It's not that kind of movie. And I get it for some people. I don't think it would have bothered me at all, but I'm quite desensitized to this kind of subject matter, so I might not be, you know, in the same realm as most people. But again, I would love to hear from you guys. If you've checked this out, let me know how you feel about it. Please try to keep spoilers to a minimum in case anyone else reads the comments in this. But yeah, I still thought this was a lot of fun. It was very engaging and definitely worth the watch. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in for this video. I appreciate all your support. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me. Hope everybody has a wonderful day. Stay sick, everybody. Cheers.